Peace! MC Shawn Love. And this week we're back with Vinyl Reviews Episode 3. And we're reviewing Shakespeare and the Last Empire. My old jam, Still Slam. Yeah, man. There's very, very few copies of this record out there. And I'm not a collector for money. You know, I don't do any of this shit for any kind of money or trying to save shit till I can sell it. None of that stuff. None of that stuff. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't sell this copy of Shakespeare's album for $1,000 if somebody offered it to me because it's that fucking good. One of the best independent records that I can even point to from the late 80s. And I'm not just saying that because the damn thing was recorded upstairs from where I used to sleep, man. I had no idea. At the time, there was at least 5 or 6 different groups and a couple other solo artists coming through hot spots in Trenton, New Jersey. And Shakespeare was just one of them. And they came in and they banged the thing out in a week. I believe they gave my dad $500 to record the whole thing. They must have spent all day and all night at that studio, man. Anyway, one of the best independent records from the late 80s you can get your hands on. I mean, it's a shame. When you listen to it, you're going to be saying, hey, why isn't this fucking guy at least somewhere along the Will Smith level right now? Because he's so damn clever. For a kid, you know, at the time I was maybe 12 years old, but watching these dudes come in, he was only maybe 18, 19, 20 at best, at very best. Just clever as hell. So, you know, what we're looking at with this is an 8-track album. I guess they were calling it an LP, but we could call it an EP if you want to. And I'm reviewing it today because, I mean, it's one of the rare records that I have. You know, I've got some other records through other channels, you know, over the years that became rare, you know, but I had them before they were rare, that kind of thing. I've never bought an expensive record in my life. You know, never bought anything over like $30, $40 in my life. And I probably never will. So the rare records I have, it's because I had them before they were rare. And this is one of them. Before we look at this album, I think it's important to mention that it was on Supreme Squadron Records, which is, you know, is nothing else credited to it that I can find. The whole album was produced by Mass Productions. And you know, these guys were named Tiz and Harmony. And from what I remember personally, they used an SP1200. I could be wrong. And I do remember one thing for sure, though, is these cats, I know they sampled from records and everything, but these cats used to actually record jazz and soul. I remember this because I used it later in life. I remember they used to record jazz from the radio on tape, and they would just sort through that shit. You know, listening to shit from they took off the radio and sampled that shit. So you can imagine how fucking dirty this record sounds. Fantastic samples. A lot of times you're gonna hear these used later, but not before. Music is great. You know, that classic all around the nation. Yeah, man. So Shakespeare was on some shit. He was one of those brilliant MCs that never got discovered. And if he did get discovered, I missed it. You know, I just hope to God that this motherfucker is not out somewhere like sweeping up floors or something, because he was fucking brilliant, you know. He should be teaching somewhere. If he played his cards right in the next 5-10 years, and I don't know. I haven't caught up with Shakespeare since the record was made in '89. He starts off the LP with My Old Jam, Still Slam, which is the title track. And it's banger, you know, like it's great use of the Blind Alley sample combined with some other stuff. You know, it's definitely an ill track as far as production's concerned. And he goes on and he puts a creative slant on the song and talks about, hey, let me do some of my old routines from the early 80s. My old jam, Still Slam. And he come in with braggadocious stuff that's kind of reminiscent of Lottie Dottie or something. And, you know, so he's in this zone, this Slick Rick zone, kind of. And, you know, not that he's biting, but, you know, he says something like he's going through his routine, all this stuff he's got that's fresh. And then he's like, next, there's nothing else left to do except for show off my funky fresh hairdo. It was sprinkled and lathered with Gucci shampoo. It had the manageable bouncy and the wavy look too. He's a funny dude, man. He's a real funny dude, and it continues throughout. All the humor is present throughout the album, which is refreshing and dope, because it wasn't, you know, corny like some people could say some of the Fresh Prince or Young MC was. It had that edge, and sometimes it was hard to buy. Like his follow-up song, School Hit, which you're listening to in the background, is great. It's a song about a kid who's who's a kid who get in the cafeteria, bang on the tables. He was known in his whole school as a dopest MC, but he's starting to fail his classes. And he's got to pull his act together. He's got to think about his rap career and his future and all this stuff. And the vibe of it is just so cool because it's a kid that sounds like he's really got the world figured out, and that already at 18 or 19 he can reflect back on his early life when he took a path in the right direction. And it sounds like he's future's too bright. He's got to wear shades. That's the vibe you get from it, and it's a great feeling because we all, I hope, remember a time in our youth when we had real big plans for the future, and then life came and kicked our ass and we had to scale them down a little bit. Well, he captured that moment of being a young kid and starting to feel your talents and imagining what it could be like perfectly in this song. And it's just, stay in school. You gotta hang in there. It was a positive message to the black youth, or any youth really, to put up with the kind of emotional stress and shit that comes along with attending high school. I mean, there's even an anecdote in there where he's talking about his day at school, and he's got to leave his 45 because of the metal detectors, which I had a hard time buying because I've seen these dudes and they didn't seem like gun toters, man. I'm not dissing them, but they didn't seem like they all had 45s. Just maybe they did. Maybe they had 45s. But the whole thing with him is, he's telling the tale. He goes into school and, how shitty his day is. Like right from the beginning, his teacher's fucking with him. And, he's, pick up a pen. He says, a pen, come on. To me, that's kind of whack because my brain mentally enables me to keep intact of a vision that will forever vanish. She says, save your big words for chemistry. This class is Spanish. Just the humor is always there in communicating it, and the seriousness that always balances it out. It's definitely you can picture it being an awesome thing in the late 80s to listen to in context, but also now as you go back, he captured that moment in his youth on this record perfect. I mean, there's a big variety of types of songs, even though there's only 8 of them. I mean, we already talked about the school hit, You Gotta Hang In There joint that was like a positive, uplifting message to the youth, right? About staying in school. And then the opening track is my old jam, Still Slam, when he's reflecting on some of his early routines. He starts the album that way. It's a title track. Kind of different, right? And then the closing of the album is about his conscience, and he's got another MC on there, playing his conscience, which is also clever. And then stuff like you got in the background where he's just, just dumping on a track, kind of fast rap Kane style. If not that he sounds like Kane, but the type of shit that I'm talking about. Get bold, the fat bullet, the bullet raps, man. And he's showing that he can do that too. He's got some other joints on there. He's got one called Lady Cop, where, he tells the whole story about, having a tangle with the law and trying to seduce the cop. I'm not going to spoil the, female cop. I'm not going to spoil the ending for you there, but, definitely a good track. The one that really, really stands out, though, is called Just a Dream. I mean, he's got this fantastic Roy Ayers sample over Impeach the President drums. I myself, being a kid, absorbing some of this, I've definitely jacked the shit out of Impeach the President. It's not like he's the only one who ever used it, but, it's like fucking peanut butter to every sample's jelly, Anyway, and the guy's lyrics are just clever as hell. Being a young teenager, listening to the shit, he's dropping game on the chick in the story. He's saying something like, sweet nothings in your ear will be most of the talk as we cruise down the street of a quiet New York. And at the red lights, I have to gaze in your eyes, and then I fall into a spell where I cannot tell lies. It reminds me of like an updated Melly Mel style of rhyming that's just real distinct in its descriptions. And it's not always funny. Shakespeare was an extremely talented dude. It's one of the rarer pieces in my collection. I just looked it up to see what it was currently going for. Like 10 years ago, Tone was telling me, this is going for like $300-400 now. And I looked it up and it's still going for that level of prices. And there's only one available that I could find online, which is, is equal to a lot of the other rare vinyls or CDs that we talk about when we talk about collectibles. Shakespeare and the Last Empire is a collectible. I wish somebody would reprint the shit. I hope that dude is doing well. He was talented as hell as a youth, and it would be a goddamn shame if he didn't find a way to take all that inspiration and that cleverness and pour it into his life. I can't recommend it highly enough for your collection. If you're into like indie rap, and if you're really into like the golden era of hip-hop and you want to hear some shit that you might never have heard before, this is going to inspire you. But you're probably not going to be able to find it. You can probably go look on YouTube and hear like a shitty version of it. It's better than nothing. But it's one of those pieces, man, that I wouldn't sell in my collection anybody offered anything, you know, and the reason is because it's so damn hard to find, and because it means so much to me as a joint. So yeah, I wanted to take this episode to a personal level and really share something that's in my collection that I had a firsthand experience in watching it be made, because it was really special to me then, and it's dear to me now. Next episode, I've got something a little bit foreign, but you know, it's not personal, but it's definitely a fantastic record that y'all should check for too. I'm excited to make the video. In the meantime, if y'all want me to do reviews for your record, or a record that you just absolutely love, that you see that nobody's put any thought into talking about yet, you know, send me the record. Let me fill me up, you know. But you know, send me the record, and I'd love to listen to it. I'd love to give it a review. Peace, y'all. Keep buying records. One.